Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Here we are, talking about video games. Alex Navarro, never held accountable for his crimes against humanity and video games. How are you?
I really didn't expect that to be the way you addressed me today. I'm going to be honest, I was not prepared for this.
Podcasting with immunity when it comes to his official podcasting duties, of course, only. Brad Shoemaker, how are you?
Official acts such as wearing a giant bomb hoodie to this podcast.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. You can't even bring that up, Brad. Brad, don't even bring that up.
Is that a hoodie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A hoodie in July in New Jersey?
It's very cold in this basement.
Somebody's running their AC.
Listen, even when I'm not running the AC high, which we're not, like we're running it at a pretty normal temperature, that air really likes to collect down here because a lot of the machinery is down here, and cold air also emanates off of that while it is running.
The AC machinery.
Yeah.
I know you've invited me to come to your basement to work next to you. I might take you up on that.
Yeah, it's nice down here, man. It is a nice chill down here.
It's 80 down here. And
it's
only
not that.
going up.
What?
Oh, yeah. No, look, I also have a lot of machinery down here, but this machinery puts off the inefficient heat from all of these NVIDIA and AMD chips as they run at 110 degrees now. So I'm surrounded by computer exhaust in my bubble. We don't have the AC on today. We are AC-less today. We've been trying to cut back on AC because our electric bill is ridiculous.
I was going to ask if this was, if there was a technical reason for that, or if this is just some form of self-flagellation.
Look, it's a form of something. It's some kind of thing.
Is this like this new trend of raw dogging flights?
Ew! I don't know.
Raw dogging the summer. Have you seen this?
What is a raw dogging? Do I want to know what a raw dogging a flight is?
It is doing nothing on a flight.
Have you ever seen the episode of Seinfeld where Putty and Elaine are on a plane together, and the entire time Putty is just staring straight forward, not looking at anything, not doing anything, doesn't even have a screen in front of him, just dead-eyed stare.
I did not realize this was a Seinfeld episode, but of course it is.
Yeah.
Wait, but people are just trying to do it like as
It's big enough now that not only is it like a discourse on social media, but there's articles being written about it and stuff. Like,
I don't get
it. People are turning it now into like this endurance test type thing.
Oh, like can you do this?
Like now people are like, oh yeah, I did Los Angeles to London.
Jesus.
Or not
can
only
you
that.
Sleep? Does that count?
I guess sleep is probably within bounds because who wants to
that?
Want to stay awake for 15 hours or whatever. But like, I think it started as I didn't bring any entertainment, anything to do.
Yeah.
But now people are going like, I did the whole flight without a bathroom break. I did the whole flight without drinking any water. Which,
like, why?
Well, that seems a bit excessive to me.
I've done that, but not at any kind of like, not because I had to, mostly because I will do it without a bathroom break because I just don't want to be bothered to get up, you know?
Yeah,
like,
especially if you have to get people up to get out.
Right, exactly.
Kind of thing. Like I definitely, like I'll go through a 4-hour flight without getting up if I'm in the window for sure.
Yeah.
But this is more
there's
turning,
a line or the cart's always in the thing or whatever it is.
This is turning into some bragging rights badge of honor thing though, of like I did a 15-hour flight without literally moving or drinking or excreting.
We're just running out of things to be proud of as a people. We're just like not getting up to use a bathroom or not having a drink of water is like really...
It's not good for you.
That's not a proud thing. That's a problematic thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, look, again, I won't eat because it's like if it's hard to get into my bag because the seats are a millimeter apart and I can't make my shoulders contort to get into my bag to grab my snacks. That's one thing, but like if I had access to food or snacks or something, hell yeah, I'm going to eat or drink or do whatever. Or if a book, you can't read a book. Just having a paper book count as raw dogging it.
No, you have failed at that point.
Okay.
Like, that's no way to live. I'm sorry. That's just no way to live on an airplane. I don't care how long or short the flight is. I need something.
Anything short of the in-flight map in the seat back apparently is too much. Which,
well, now that they've taken all the TVs away, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't bring it.
want to stare at that thing? That's your business, but stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated.
Get up and move. Like,
it's good for your circulation.
Not to make this morbid, but like blood clots happen when you sit too much. Like I know somebody who passed away from the blood clot.
I too know somebody who passed away after a flight from a blood clot. Older, not of our age.
Okay. This was younger than us.
Oh man, yeah.
Just get up and move around a little bit.
Yeah.
Get up,
get the blood flowing.
But I kind of understand the like trying to reclaim some kind of purity by not surrounding yourself with screens everywhere. You know.
Yeah, but bring a book.
Like sometimes just thinking is okay. You know,
it's okay.
I get it.
You know how I like to think? By reading a book or watching a show or doing something.
Sometimes it's nice to just be lost in your thoughts. You know.
Sometimes when I'm on a flight, I have the book, I read a bit, and then I put the book down, and then I stare out the window for a little bit, and then I hopefully fall asleep. And then I try to wake up when that cart comes around, because I do want some coffee or some water, or a little goldfish or whatever they're going to give me. But no, Brad, to answer your question, this is just that, I'd say it was like a little breezy out. It's not so bad outside today here. And our electric bill, we are very fearful of what this. We run the dehumidifiers, which suck some of that just disgusting moisture out of the air instead of the air conditioners. So it's like down here, it's in the 80s. I think upstairs it was like 82-ish. Ugh. But if you get rid of some of that moisture, it's like 46% humidity here. So in the basement, so like that's not so bad, because it's been like 70 in other places.
No, I'm just gonna pay my power bill.
Go for it.
I'm just going to do it.
We also do that thing where like we ask our company to buy renewable power, which makes apparently our power more expensive, which at some point I'm like, do we have to do this? Family discussion. How strongly do we feel about this? And apparently my wife feels very strongly about this. And I'm like, well, look, are they doing the thing where they're actually getting their power from renewable resources, or are they just saying they're planting trees? What's the story here? Because I'm not paying extra if they're doing the thing where they're just doing that carbon offset bullshit. And she said she looked into it, and they are trying to use renewable resources as far as she could tell.
And then next summer, the conversation, you're going to get back together and it's going to evolve into, so like how many years do you think we really have left?
Totally. Like over under. Like really like
kids, I don't want to alarm you or anything, but like I mean if I'm being realistic about this, I don't know if we got much time left.
Let's just use it up. Let's put the AC down to 68 and let's just enjoy it while we can.
Let's just ride the wave, man.
Let's go. So not so bad. And look, like the power bill is no joke. It is pricey. And I've got a lot of computers on as it is anyway, and a lot of things that I'm in, like, I don't know, Brad, what is it, like generation? What at what point after you've done like your NAS and your VMs and all that stuff do you then say like, oh, right, I should probably think about the power efficiency of that. I feel like that's like third generation of like, first you do it and you do it because you can, then you do it bigger because you could do it bigger and expand, and then you realize you should probably build it more power efficient.
You've got 3 third-hand like Dell, what is it, Power Edge or whatever out of a data center, like giant rack mount things that are meant to be running 24/7 on like industrial 220 volt. Or something.
People who get subsidized from their power because of the state of Virginia because they create jobs or something.
We should talk about video games, but I will tell you there is a video I've been meaning to send you for a while of some dude. I'll send you the video. We should talk about the dude. We should talk about it later. Maybe this is Ramblecast material. I found a video floated across my YouTube feed that was just this very unassuming, like a quick tour of my home lab or something like that. And holy shit, man. This guy apparently is like a CTO of a relatively major company. The build out he did in his house, like I wish I understood electricity better to give you some of the numbers of what he is, of the amount of juice he is burning. He's
got all the juice,
but it went around a couple of Discords, and people were like, "Okay, this guy." I'll send you the video.
I was going to ask you, and maybe this is a Ramblecast thing, but maybe it's not. Like, it occurred to me as I was trying to figure out my stuff. What do you think like someone like Satya Nadella or like a real head has in their house? You think they have nothing? You think they are Spartan and they cut every cable and they're
just
like
fucking Robert De Niro in Heat, just a fucking big window with a table?
I bet the vast majority of them don't even know what they have.
You like think they just hired somebody to come in and do a thing?
They just paid people to set up the best thing they could have.
Or make my house look like an actual human lives here.
Or is it, what was that? Not Deus Ex. What was the Ex Machina? Or is it just Ex Machina in everybody's basement there, where they're just like literally have
where they're building woman robots?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, is my answer. Where they have like some bunker where it is basically the top of their house, and then some Hitman style basement where they are just they're just like cast off robots and shit in the basement.
Can I be real with you? Playing that Hitman freelancer mode really broadened my horizons in terms of what I thought was possible in a home I would want to own.
You're saying you got a little taste of that bunker life?
I'm saying that if I ever do find some measure of significant and let's just say ludicrous wealth, that murder bunker is getting recreated 1-to-1.
Can I ask you, and you don't have to, you can give a false answer for now, so feel free to change your mind. Can I ask you where would your entrance be? Would it be behind a fridge? Would it be behind a bookcase?
Ooh, yeah. So the one I'm going to tell you right now is definitely not the one I would actually do, but the one that I will say publicly so that people will look there is I would definitely have a fake wine rack. Because
wine rack?
I can tell you right now, there is no chance I would have any real wine on that rack. I don't know what the fuck good wine is. I don't care. So that right there is the thing I'm using as the decoy.
Okay.
And then you can make it like you have to pull the right 3 bottles in sequence to open up the secret door.
Yes.
But never a fucking Merlot, okay?
I bet the energy costs on a bunker like that. I guess you try to do some kind of weird renewable energy for when the in a grid down situation, right?
You've got panels and a generator, 100%, because
or
you are also building
something.
You are building that house in like the fucking Michigan Upper Peninsula or the unincorporated parts of Maine. You are doing that as far the fuck away from anyone as you can.
You have murdered everyone who has worked on it. You have no permits out, and nobody knows exactly what the hell. There's one contractor who survived who's like, I don't know, man. This guy just wanted it tapped into a lava flow. I don't know why. Never built anything like that before.
Geothermal, baby.
Yeah, geothermal. I'm all about this planet.
It's real hot down there.
Mine runs off of Mako energy. Should we talk about some video games?
Sure.
Let's do it. Brad, we should say, Brad, you were not expected to be here. I'm thankful you are here.
Yes.
It's great to have you.
Some plans changed. Life can be chaotic.
Life can be chaotic.
Let's say.
But
you never know what's going to happen.
Life finds a way to talk about even more of the hands-on stuff you were able to touch during Summer Games Fest.
Yes, this is it, I believe. This is kind of everything. Nothing against these games. It's not like they're bringing up the rear or something. It's just what I saved for last.
And what do you want to start with?
And then serendipitously, one of those games that I was kind of looking forward to talking about, then we got a preview code for it, which I sent your way.
Yes.
And now you have played it as well, and it is Steamworld Heist 2.
Steamworld Heist 2, a game that I was on my radar mostly because of the Steamworld thing, not because of the heist part. I didn't dislike the first one. I just didn't stick with me.
Yeah, that's kind of where I played a decent amount of it. Also, I played it on the Vita.
Okay.
Remember the PlayStation Vita?
Yeah. Fantastic little system.
Like, I think it was on PS4. In fact, I think it was like you bought it once and got it on both at the time. But I only played it on the Vita, so in my mind, it's this tiny little squished screen portable thing. And I played this game on like a gigantic TV on PC, which I guess you have also done now. Yeah,
and we should say this one is coming to pretty much everything, and it is out August 8th, but this is some earlier, well, at least what I played was from the beginning. What you played sounds like maybe you jumped around a bit.
Yeah, I did some late game stuff, but I am like you. I liked Heist just fine, but yeah, like in the kind of pantheon of SteamWorld games, it was not my favorite, but I did not dislike it. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
This one seems more cool. Like
yeah, me too.
I'm much more looking forward to this as a strategy game. For a couple of reasons. Like you've seen this as well, but the first game was set in space, and this one is like more piratical.
Definitely.
It's like a pirate game now.
The SteamWorld universe is weird.
SteamWorld, yeah. Like, not that why did this never hit me before? Like, the Dig games are sort of Wild West. Heist has done space, and now Pirates. Quest was like fantasy, right? Like high fantasy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kind of are just all over the place, and it's all robots.
And we should say, when we say pirates, we don't mean like space pirates, literal pirates, like buccaneers.
Yes, you've got a sailing ship, and that's one of the other things. Is
submarine.
The first game,
thank you.
Is it a submarine?
It is a submarine. Yeah.
Okay. Like first game, you were just moving around it was basically a menu, right? Like you were in space, but it was just like just move to the next node, which is the next mission. Like there's no exploration here. And yeah, you've seen this as well. Now you're like literally driving the submarine around manually, and you're like getting into naval battles along the way as you go to the next mission.
Yeah,
I don't know how much of that you saw.
So you do have direct control over your sub, and you can equip different kind of weapons on it. And I started from the beginning, so I'm not sure where they jumped you, but I was only able to get as far as where I was at with my sub. You start out by reclaiming the sub. The tutorial is getting the sub. The story here, the setup is, and again, these are actual pirates on the high seas. There are the steam bots, seems like, versus the diesel bots, and the water's been tainted. So the steam bots are running off of water, and it's tainting everybody and corroding their insides. The diesel bots don't have that problem because they're running off of diesel. And there's like the Imperial Navy or something, which is out there. And so in my sub, once we got it, we were finally able to equip a machine gun to the side of the sub, which means as I navigate the sub around, it can shoot off the one side where the machine gun is. So I can kind of strafe around ships to get behind them and shoot them, because they also have directional weapons.
Do I remember all the shooting is like automatic? Like you don't hit a button to shoot, right? Like it's all just maneuvering. Like you just need to like make sure you expose the right side of your ship to them to be able to shoot them
within range.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
It's kind of cool. I on paper, as they were describing, I was like, oh, this sounds kind of limited. But then you're just like trying to do donuts around this ship, which is kind of fun.
Right. It's all about just maneuvering around them. And I think you get like loot, right? Or like materials, right? Like when you kill them, you get kind of like scrap for crafting
gallons,
and stuff like that.
Which is water, and then some kind of other, at least where I was, currency, upgrade currencies. Because there's plenty of upgrades.
Yes. Yeah, it's neat. It's just like something to do on the way to the missions, right?
Yeah.
And I got the sense there are like story missions and also just kind of random side missions you could just roll up on if you just want to I just want to go like grind some XP and get some loot.
So the only thing I didn't get a chance to explore fully yet, the biggest question I left with in my time with it was, yes, you can go do a mission. They actually have a lot of different difficulties, maybe too many to start you off with. There's like 6 or 7 different difficulty settings.
Jeez.
And I just picked the one that was near the middle. And then when you run a mission, you can change the difficulty, but I wasn't quite sure if that gives you just more challenge or more rewards in it.
Yeah, I remember also setting that at time of mission, but I can't remember what that does.
And then I got 2 stars on a mission because I left some loot behind, but it didn't seem like I could replay the mission to get the star again. And I wasn't sure if I just slept for a day, if I could just replay some missions again, because in my brain, I'm like, well, I'm going to reload a save. I only got 2 stars on this thing. I can't forever have 2 stars on this mission.
Mm-hmm.
The economy in the game is kind of interesting, or the action economy in the overworld game is kind of interesting. So you have a crew, and you start out with 2 characters. By the time I was done with my playthrough, or not done, by the time I put the game down, I had 4 members. 2 can go on a mission where I'm at. I don't know if that ever changes.
So they had us play an early game save and then jumped us to a late game save. And I also had 4 characters in that early one. But even in the late game save, I'm pretty sure you can only bring 2 in at a time.
Running 2 on a mission? Okay.
I think that's right. There might have had 3. I can't remember.
Again, I'm not sure if it changes, but a character where I'm at now, and again, there's a lot of upgrades in this, so this can change, can do a mission and then has to take a rest, has to sleep overnight. So with a crew of 4, I was able to run 2 full missions and then take a rest. With a crew of 2, I was only able to do 1, obviously. With a crew of 3, I guess I could bring that person in solo. I'm not sure. I never even tried that. But each crew member, this is where this is going to get a little in the weeds here, so help me out here, Brad, if they explain this better, has a class based on what kind of weapon they have.
Yes. So that is the change that has made me much more interested in this game. Like the other stuff with the ship or the submarine is neat, but I guess we should say, if you didn't play the first game, it's a I don't want to say simplified, but it's a side scroll, or not. It's like a 2D
locked 2D
sort of side-scrolling, turn-based. It's like a 2D XCOM. It's like a 2D
XCOM, yeah.
I guess that's actually the best way to put it. It looks like a platformer, except it's a turn-based strategy game where you take cover behind things, you can destroy cover, you can bank shots off of the ceiling to hit stuff. You got all kinds of abilities. You
can move and fire, or you can fire and then it ends your turn.
Yes.
You can use 2 of your actions to do a sprint, basically.
Yes. And it's got manual aiming control, I guess, is the one thing that kind of makes it unique from stuff like XCOM. Like you literally are aiming with the analog stick your shot and trying to hit somebody possibly clear across the screen or even farther.
And there's weapon sway.
Yeah.
So
yes, there's weapon sway. Some abilities will give you like a nice laser sight so you can actually see what you're going to hit.
Yeah.
But by and large, you're kind of like having to eyeball the aim and hope you get it.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of a nicer way than just rolling dice to me.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty decent risk reward because you might have a character that does high damage but has no laser sight, right? And you're like, and one of the characters you get early on, if they get a kill, can take another shot but has no sight, and you just have to either get very close, or it's a good risk reward. Like you're sacrificing getting close, coming out of cover to get that extra shot, or if you're good, because there's a skill to it, if you're good enough, you can just pop that shot pretty far away if you get used to the mechanics.
Yeah. Yeah, so yes, the class-based stuff is what really perked me up. Like, they're kind of just doing the Final Fantasy job system now. Like, I had forgotten this from the first game, but the developer was there helping me or pointing things out and reminded me that, I guess in the first game, each character's class was kind of locked to them as like a story thing. It's like, oh, this character is the engineer character. That's just who they are, and so that defines the abilities they're ever going to have. And yeah, like you said, in this one, now they have decoupled the classes from the characters, the story characters. So yes, you can put the engineer weapon on somebody and they just become an engineer now. Or like, what is it, like Brawler?
Oh my gosh, there are a decent amount.
I think Sniper might be one. There are definitely like several jobs they talked about.
Reaper, I think, is one.
Yes, I can't remember what that does or like what the focus of that one is, but I think
that was the one that can get the extra kill if you. Well, like again, there's a lot. They each have a separate tree as well. So
yeah,
you unlock abilities. I also wasn't 100% sure. You get a decent amount of passives in your tree, and I don't know if those carry over if you're using a different class. Obviously the active ones, not obviously. I don't think the active ones do. I didn't change any classes. I just kept on going with the default class for the people I recruited.
Yeah, I also did not have time to do that, but I'm excited about that stuff. And in standard job system thing of, some abilities you can keep when you change class. Like if you, I don't know what the mechanic is there. If you have to like master them or something like that, maybe earn.
Oh, so that's what I was talking about. You do keep some if you,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause the late game save, they jumped me to like the characters had like kind of a huge ability bar at that point, like 8 or 10 abilities, I want to say. Like it was a lot. And they're color coded by class, so you could kind of get a sense just by looking at the bar of like.
Oh, okay. So you do keep some of the active abilities.
Yeah, but I don't know what the requirements are there to keep those. Like I said, I don't know if you have to like double level them up or something like that.
There was a pop up in the tutorial that I remember reading something about it, and I just forgot at this point. Like they definitely said it somewhere, and that's on me. I just forgot exactly the wording on it. I thought it was the passives, but you saw active abilities
yes.
Okay.
And so given that, like it seems like you could start comboing some pretty crazy stuff once you mix and match from different classes. Like the abilities also seem a little bit weirder. Like one of the late game abilities was you could literally just pick any enemy in range and teleport to them and kill them instantly. Like they would just kind of shatter as you're basically telefragging them.
Yeah.
Which is both good for repositioning yourself and taking an enemy out. And so just weird stuff like that.
There is like the Brawler has an ability where if you kill an enemy with melee, you get +1 health, which can kind of keep you in the game, even if you're running at like 1 health, right? You're just constantly killing somebody to get that health back, even though they're going to hit. There's interesting tactical stuff that will end up happening.
Yeah. It seemed, just by and large, it seems like a much deeper and more interesting tactical experience than the first one.
Especially since you're also pairing 2 characters with all of those abilities, and you can kind of mix and match your teams, right? To be like, okay, these 2 should always go together, these 2 should always go together, or more. I'm not even sure how many you can get. I can only hold 4 crewmates where I'm at now, but that's very early in the game, within the first 3 hours of the game. So
yeah.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah. It seems like really expanded from the first one. They popped up like the inventory screen on that late game save at one point. Or it might have been the early game save, but it was just like this character has like 30 weapons they have picked up. Like it's full on loot based, which like that can get overwhelming when you've got that many weapons to sift through. But like when they also can straight up let you change class by picking up new weapons, like that actually seems really exciting.
And hats. You could shoot their hats off. Yes.
Hats still a big deal.
The most important thing.
You can collect those hats. You can collect the hats you shoot off and keep them and wear them.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a thing in the first one, but that's like a very goofy thing. Okay. Yeah. They don't seem to have, at least the ones I picked up, any other stat bonuses, just kind of purely cosmetic so far, at least.
I think that's right.
But like, what are you going to do? Not get the hats?
Right.
No.
The only other tidbit, I didn't make it to the boss when I played it, but reading some of the other coverage out there from Summer Game Fest, another thing I saw is like there's a boss in there that's like huge and has actual weak points on it.
I fought a boss that I didn't explicitly say it had a weak point, but I was playing with my kids and they were all shouting at me to shoot it in the tanks.
Sure.
And I was like, well, they would show it glowing or something, but it was just like, it's got a big fuel tank on it. And lo and behold, I shot it in the fuel tank and it blew up.
Yep. Yeah, so apparently weak points on some enemies are a thing now, where you can like disable certain abilities on them or make them vulnerable and stuff like that. So
I don't know if that's the same boss you were talking about in the game, but there was definitely a boss where, because I had shot the cockpit open, it was a piloted mech.
That is what I read about. I didn't have time to make it to that boss, but that's what I read about.
And so I shot the cockpit open, so I was like, well, no, I'm just going to shoot the person inside, and they're like, shoot the tanks, and I was like, shoot her, and then I shot the tank and it blew up. I've really liked it so far.
Yeah.
I think the cover mechanics are interesting. The environmental stuff is interesting. The ricochet stuff can be extremely interesting because you are just like bouncing bullets around the map to try and reach some weird headshot. There are headshots that give you crits, which can be tough with the sway sometimes. The weapon sway, because you're trying to time it in like a very small window sometimes as the line is like crossing over somebody's head and you're like, come on. But Brad, like you said, you can get abilities that or get a cooldown, like, hey, 2 more turns and this ability will come back that eliminate weapon sway or add damage or give you a special ability. The open world seems like it's kind of neat, piloting that little ship around. You dock and you can pick up, spend your items on upgrades, and and it's Steamworld, so it's got kind of that vibe.
Yeah, It's got charm.
It's got charm.
Looks nice, sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go see it because the Steamworld games are all consistently good, but I was surprised how impressed I was with it in the way that it builds on the first one.
Definitely put it back on my radar in a way that I wasn't I was curious, but now I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, same.
I'll just say the setup here is that apparently your parents or your mom was like this big old pirate and like pirate queen or something. She's missing or MIA, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're the son of this person. Surely you'll be as good as she was. Just keep at it." And he's like,
it always works out.
Yeah, who am I if just because I'm a child? Is that whole thing? And you're putting a crew together.
Mm-hmm.
And you get your own ship, and inside the ship. People might be curious, and because it's definitely a cool thing, you go inside the ship and you get like upgrades inside the ship, like rooms and stuff. Like your crew, you can walk around inside your submarine, which is always good, always a plus. Again, this is coming out August 8th. Steamworld Heist 2, pretty much on anything you can play video games on. That is reasonable. Don't hold me.
I'm holding you to that.
It's the Commodore 64 version.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's Steamworld Heist 2. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some more things, Brad, that you played over the summer during your festival of games. Stick around. This week's show is brought to you by Babbel. Brad Shoemaker.
Hi, reporting for duty.
Hi, ciao. We're here. We're here to talk about Babbel today.
Guten Tag.
Oh, thank you very much. Look, there are a lot of things that I am very good at. Well, okay, there are a lot of things I'm okay at. There are many things I'm terrible at, and learning languages second languages, absolutely miserable at. I'm just not good at it.
Hey, look, we could just blame our brains at this point, right?
Totally.
We've aged out of that part where your brain is a sponge, and it's
totally.
just like it's always your brain's fault.
It's somebody's left the Play-Doh out too long. It's turned into a dry, crumbly mess. The plasticity is just not there for me anymore. But Babbel is there to help me out. Babbel, I have a subscription to Babbel. I use it. It's pretty easy to do. I just fire it up on my old iPad, and I make my way through some Italian. Take some Italian lessons here and there. They actually have live classroom stuff, and holy cow.
Whoa.
I can't. I'm so nervous. I am so nervous about speaking other languages that I've always been okay at. I can read Italian pretty well, but I'm always so self-conscious about speaking it and talking about it. But they do have live classroom stuff that you can do from home, right? It's called Babbel Live. This is a great bullet point here, actually. They have it available 7 days a week, any time of the day, and taught by over 450 certified teachers, so you can learn on your schedule.
Just wake up at 3 a.m. and can't sleep. You practice your Italian.
Babbel's conversation-based technique teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world in as little as 3 weeks. And with Babbel, you can learn everything you need to have real-world conversations, from vocabulary words to culture, and it all just takes 10 minutes a day. Again, I've used it. I think it's fun. It's very quick, very breezy, and I do feel like I'm making progress. How can you get in on this Babbel action? For a special limited time deal, our listeners can go to babbel.com/Nextlander and get 55% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners. That's 55% off at babbel.com/Nextlander.
That's right. No other podcast can offer you this deal.
No way. I dare them to. It's babbel.com/Nextlander. Rules and restrictions may apply. Thanks, Babbel.
Arrivederci.
Oh, you've studied. And we are back. Brad, what else is on your list here?
Hyper Light Breaker.
Sure.
Ooh, yeah.
From the makers of Hyper Light Drifter.
Uh-huh.
Very different game.
So this has a Q3 still here release in our database. I don't think an official date yet.
Yeah, it's going to come out. It'll be in early access. They have said
Okay.
that when it does come out, it'll be in early access. And I think it's like soon-ish, but they didn't have a time frame exactly.
Okay.
Did you guys play Drifter?
I played a lot of it.
I had to like confess when I got to that demo. I was like, I've never played Drifter, but it's not for lack of wanting to. It's always been on this like pile of like, that's a game I should play when I'm on vacation. If I was ever actually like able to play an old game in between new games, that's a game I would love to just sort of sink into and then never quite find time for it. Which is to say, like, I'm interested, you know?
I think I'm trying to remember exactly. I'm actually looking it up now to make sure how much I played of it. Yes. Okay.
I can't remember if I finished it, but I know I played a lot of it.
Yeah, it was. Drifter was more of the like explore and then fight bosses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of a like explore it was the pixelated world where you go and you go and explore.
It's a big empty environment. You're exploring the different parts of it, you know, like trying to puzzle together like kind of how to progress.
Yeah. Yes. So I played some of it. I don't think I finished it either, but I always liked the aesthetic on it.
Yes, very, very like top-down Zelda-ish type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So this Breaker has the aesthetic. It's like loosely connected to the previous game, but it's a third-person action game, like hardcore action game, run-based roguelite sort of thing.
Yeah, the footage I saw of it almost had like and maybe in person it seems different, like a Breath of the Wild look to it, like the color palette and the sky and stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of really good glitch effects. You know, like it I think like just visually it's very consistent with Drifter, even though it's like a different perspective, but
and different art style. This isn't pixel art.
Yeah, it's all 3D. But it is very much a like, you have a home base, you pick a character, there are multiple selectable characters, there's all kinds of upgrades to unlock, ranged and melee weapons, like the works of things you would expect from like a roguelike run-based sort of thing. And then the worlds are all procedurally generated, like where you do the fighting, you know, like the big world you're going out in to do your shit. Those are different every time. Like it straight up like takes some time to generate a world. And you're out there basically trying to take down bosses, or it might be like one boss per map, like one final boss. I'm not sure. But you have like a series of tasks you have to do before you can do that. You have to like go here and get this key, and go here and do this other thing, and then like only after you've done like 3 things can you then go to one of the bosses you need to kill.
I feel like that might be Drifter
yeah, that structure sounds familiar.
Yeah,
interesting.
I don't want to speak out of turn. It's been a while since
it has been a while for me as well. Mostly, what I remember about a Hyperlight Drifter is that it was fairly hard.
Yeah, but I do. I vaguely remember
fucking hard.
Hitting like activation points to open a door or something, and then you fight the boss after you've done like, you know, like push this button, push 3 of these buttons, or get these keys, or something like that.
I'm trying to think. Like,
it's multiplayer as well, right?
Let me check that. I think you might be right. I believe that is the case. Yes, that is the case.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that would actually be. I only played it single player, but that actually would be a pretty cool way to play this game from what I've seen, because it is fucking hard.
Especially if it sounds like maybe the builds can be different too for your character.
Yeah, it's very much so. And it's a loot game. Like you're straight up, that's a thing so there's a bunch of optional stuff you can also do when you get out on the map. And if you don't want to just go straight to doing the boss tasks and then fighting the boss, it's like there will be icons on the map for like you probably could find a good weapon here, or there's some encounter here that you're probably going to get something good out of, you know, and it is full on colored loot, you know, green, blue, purple style, like these twin swords are better than this hammer or whatever type shit.
So I have a couple of questions. These might be a little too in-depth for what you were shown, but is there a difference between the general overworld and the instant stuff, or is it always like as soon as you leave your base, it is procedurally generated?
It is super separated. Like there's a full-on loading screen. Like
so like if you're going out to just get
like the hub where you like unlock stuff.
Yeah, like if I'm going out to go get, like say I'm going out to go get some loot, am I generating a map, or is there like a fixed map for basically is it Hyrule and then dungeons, or is it basically always going to be generated as soon as you leave your hub?
Yeah, it's always a new map every time. Okay. Like every like a run, one map constitutes one run, I believe is my understanding.
Okay. So if I wanted to do a loot run, I could bounce out of that procedurally generated thing without fighting the boss?
Don't quote me on this, but yes, I think you can withdraw. I think you could just go out and get a bunch of stuff and then, but I don't know that you can just regenerate a new map, though, is the thing. I think you might still have to go back to that same map and take on what they've given you.
That makes sense to me. I guess that's really what I'm asking is like how much can I how hard is it going to be to do in one run versus go back to your base and say like, oh man, I've got this build, I don't want to waste it.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I don't know if you could like grind equipment on a different map and then start over.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're going to run out all the loot on your map at some point, and I don't know if they would let you just say, hey, like, give me another map and let me do all that again.
So I guess a follow-up question to that, if you know, if I do get a bunch of sick loot, what is the carryover permanence in this thing? Because that's always a big question for roguelites. Is it like stats are going to carry over? It's probably loot doesn't, right?
I think it's only stuff you would buy in that hub. Like
okay.
There are permanent abilities, permanent passives, that kind of thing that you unlock, and then the weapons, I think. You can also buy weapons in that hub in addition to finding them, and I think all those are gone. I think it's just those passives and stat upgrades and stuff like that, I think, are the things that carry over.
Okay. Do you know if it's a thing where, like, again, this is a lot of detailed information for the time you spent with it. Is it something like you buy the ability to unlock weapons in a run? That, you know, that style of, oh, now your chance of finding this thing. I would guess that's the case. Like, okay. From the little bit I saw, I was just buying a weapon and taking it with me. But they'd they'd also given this character like max credits, so you could just buy whatever you wanted and stuff just to see different weapons. So.
The old demo character.
Yes. Yeah, I should say it's still fairly early because they are launching into early access. So by definition, where they're at now is not even like too early access level. So there's still a ways to go. But one of the things I was going to say is like the map variation actually does seem very high, because the first map I pulled, I was like a minute and a half from the boss I needed to fight.
Oh.
And I never managed to beat that boss. Fuck, man. The developer was talking about like how hard or how hard a time people had been having with that boss, you know, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get in there and do it on the first try. I've got this. I almost got it on the first try, but then it was just beginner's luck style. Every attempt was worse after that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I never managed to beat that fucking boss.
So for what it's worth, when I was playing Hyper Light Drifter before it came out, I did that at PAX, and I had to do a boss encounter in front of the devs, and I had the exact same experience where I ate the most shit possible in front of that boss and in front of the developers.
You always want to impress the developer. It does not often happen. But the thing I was going to say, though, is because I kept dying, I was just like, I just pop back in, and I'm right back at that boss in 90 seconds. The second map I pulled, I could barely figure out how to get to the boss at all. It was so much farther away, and it had gotten stuck like at the top of these cliffs that I was having a very hard time navigating up. So I don't know how much of that was like the game is, you know, they're still working on it, and how much was intentional. But like at that point, just getting to the boss was a very difficult challenge, and I don't know how many like guardrails they're going to put on the map generation to keep it so that like, oh, you'll always have like an easy path to the boss or not.
Right.
In some cases, the map itself might actually be really hard to deal with.
It looks like the footage looks awesome.
Yeah,
like
it has a great look. Like I said, the glitchy like spatial digital effects look fantastic.
And the ability to play with multiple people seems pretty cool. To have a party go out, I wonder what the scaling will be like on bosses. If you know, sometimes stuff works out in a way that's like, this is actually easier with one person, or you know, this you got this boss sucks with multiple people because it's, you know, tracking whatever. But you know, that could be a fun thing to jump into with multiple people.
Yeah, it seems very cool, and you know, like the gameplay is very tight, like quick dashes, like parries, counters, all that stuff, like really tight timing on things.
This like you said, early access on PC, but no console announcements yet.
No, I'm guessing. I bet they'll save that until they're out of early access, or you know, maybe Xbox Game Preview or something like that. But
okay,
this is the type of game that I'm sure will bear all kinds of like rebalancing and changes based on feedback from players once it's in early access. So I bet console releases might be later.
Is a very selfish reason to ask, because this just sounds like something that would be fun to play with like my brothers or something on a console.
Yeah. I would be shocked if it didn't come to consoles at some point. I just read right before the podcast, Disaster Peace is doing the music again, but also it sounds like he was maybe not involved past the initial stages, so I'm not sure how much, but I always love a good Disaster Peace score.
Hell yeah.
Oh, and a hoverboard, that was the other thing. Instead of like dashing, you have a hoverboard.
Nice.
To get places quickly.
Fucking
Great.
Sick.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a hoverboard?
Yeah, it seems like it could be quite cool.
Great. That's Heart Machine, yeah. That again, maybe sometime in the summer. We'll see if it drops in early access. I'm kind of excited to see what that is. What's up next, Brad?
Let's see. Phantom Blade Zero.
Yeah, what can you tell me about Phantom Blade Zero?
That was a 20-minute appointment, so it was very short. Played it for like 15-ish minutes or something.
Did this show, aside from this year, was this shown another year?
I think this has been on like a summer showcase from somebody, like maybe a PlayStation showcase last year or something like that.
Okay, somewhere along the way.
It's being developed by a team based in Beijing. And it's very Soulsy, but also kind of character action-y at the same time.
That's what did you call, or what did they call that? A Souls Light?
Oh, Flintlock is a Souls Light.
I can't believe we're just
that's where we're at now, man.
Souls,
yeah. I can't remember. I hate to admit this. It's been a month since that event. Some of the details, there's been a little bit of detail leakage on some of these demos since then. I can't remember if all the attacks are on the shoulder buttons like a Souls, or I kind of want to say maybe some of the attacks were face buttons on this one, so that's more character action than Souls. It's very combo heavy. There was a developer there kind of walking me through it, and they kind of like implied like they're by no means saying the game is easy, but like you can kind of block and mash your way through it to an extent, if that makes sense. Like you can't just
don't have a stamina bar.
I don't quite recall, but I do remember thinking that the block was like fairly generous.
Okay.
But there's like a lot of depth. Basically what I'm saying is he was saying like their philosophy was to like establish a baseline of playability that a lot of people could approach, and then layer the complexity up from there, if that makes sense, as opposed to making everybody meet it at the level where it's already complex.
Yeah, but because obviously the stamina bar in a Souls game is the thing that'll get in your way if you're trying to be defensive, right?
There definitely is stamina and like stuff that degrades, like meters that go down as you block or whatever. It's not a total cakewalk, but it seemed like a lot of the complexity was based on like switching weapons mid combo and stuff like that. You've got all kinds of like charge moves and kind of higher level weapon abilities that you can use.
If you remember when you were playing, the footage I was looking at from the Summer Game Fest, the whole thing seems extremely fast.
Yes,
like
it's very
uncontrollably fast.
Yes, that's kind of where I thought it was like not like Soul's very methodical, right? Like there's a certain pace to it. Like this,
I mean, it can be fast, but this is like fast.
This is something else.
This kind of reminded me. It's not like Devil May Cry, but it's kind of got that. It's kind of got that sense of pacing or speed to it. In a way.
And were you able to keep up? Like, does the game, is that where some of that like flow and combo comes in? Like the game is taking care of stringing some of these things together for you?
I think that's more on you, if I remember. Like doing things fluidly and keeping combos going, I think. Is on you? Because man, some of this stuff seems intense. Yeah, that's where the skill comes in. I remember thinking before I went down there, like watching footage of it, I was like, how much of that are you actually doing yourself?
Right.
Some of those moves look very intricate in a way that you couldn't like translate to a controller. I think it's kind of 50-50 from the tiny little bit I played. Like some of the moves you do look pretty flashy as they come out, but also like you are switching things up quite a bit to get it to look like that.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where if you look at the footage, it seems like somebody's doing like a 57 hit combo with different moves, right? Like, and how could you put that button input in if you're not just like hitting square over and over?
Yeah, and I don't think it's like an exploration game either. I think I got the sense it might be a little more linear.
Saw somebody running on a wall.
Yes.
So some traversal.
Yeah. It seems cool. I like I said, I really didn't get to play a ton of it, but I'm curious to see how it shapes up. Yeah,
like if you just like if I pause the footage with the UI on, boy, does that look like a Souls UI. Like
sure.
I think even down to the point where there's like a flask with a number underneath it in the lower left-hand corner, a boss with a stamina bar and a health bar, and then the whole thing. But I've got my Souls game right now, and it's Elden Ring's DLC, and like there've been a lot of Souls-ish movement. I feel like even more since Elden Ring came out. Like people are like, no, this is still a hot market. So I'm glad to hear that maybe this is not dogmatic in its like kind of Soulsness, and that it's maybe a little more actiony, character actiony.
As in an effort to supplement my failing memory, I pulled up a write-up on Games Radar by Austin Wood.
Okay.
I'll give them credit, but just to reinforce what I was saying, this is genetically closer to the likes of Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, or Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Cool.
And also propelled by a love of Chinese wuxia martial arts.
Hell yeah.
If that gives you a better sense of what it's like.
I totally think it does.
Yeah, I think the pendulum maybe is swinging back that way a little bit, and a little bit away from the like masochistic nature of a hey, if you let your guard down, you're going to die in a second.
Yeah. But like you said, there are some elements of it that do look like they're out of the Souls. But the little bits I played were, like I said, pretty linear. It wasn't a lot of exploring a big area. It was mostly just kind of moving forward. There were spots where it's like, okay, there's multiple ways you can approach this encounter. These guys are down in a valley, and there's a little path up where you could like go around and take out an archer and then get the drop on the guys down below type stuff. But not a lot of like big branching paths or anything.
My fear for this, or my concern for this, is sometimes games like this, you're like having super fun doing that stuff you just said, like going down different paths and taking out all the enemies, and then you hit that boss, and you're like, I was not ready. This is not how I've been playing this game. Now I have to learn this whole parry mechanic I've never used before, or the difficulty curve on this boss is incredible.
Yeah.
Does this game have a date?
No, I looked it up. There's nothing yet.
Great. Phantom Blade Zero. Do you know what Phantom Blade Executioners is?
I do not.
The prequel?
It's also by S-Game.
Huh.
And
I guess maybe they...
It says a game set in the Phantom world.
Oh, this is also not out. This also says coming soon.
Is this like a real game?
Oh, it's got a Steam page.
Okay. S-Game.
Oh, it's a 2D game. It's
building out the Phantomverse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, an ARPG, huh?
Well, ARPG usually means like a Diablo-like.
Yeah.
But this very much looks like a 2D action game.
Totally.
So, I don't know.
What is the genre anymore?
I don't know. Brad, what's next?
The last one is Chainstaff.
I had not even heard of this one.
Yeah, this got announced like as SGF was starting, like the day before or something. This is I'll always offer the disclosure. This is from being published by Null Games, where our friend Matt Rory works.
Mm-hmm.
Did not manage to run into him while I saw this, sadly. The way they're pitching this is a 2D action game. They're pitching the visual style as sort of being lifted from like 70s fantasy art / heavy metal album cover type stuff. Is kind of where the look comes from. It's kind of a shooter. It's kind of a 2D side-scrolling, like almost a Contra, except you've also got this like living alien tentacle spear thing at your disposal.
Okay. And
there's a bunch of different stuff you can do with that spear staff, the chain staff, I guess I should say. I mean, if you look at some footage of it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Also, is your character a giant bug with a human
like a
body?
Mantis. You got like a mantis head.
I didn't actually. I just walked up to a demo and played it. I did not see cutscenes, so I did not realize that your character is like some giant bug man. But the staff can be used. You can charge it, which takes a decent amount of time, and then like shoot it in a straight line, like with a lot of force as an offensive attack. You can also like plunge it into the ground and then jump on it and control it.
I'm seeing some of that.
I believe like the analog stick, if I remember. So you can kind of use it as your own makeshift like movable platform.
It's weird. It's got this like Contra vibe, but with physics applied to it.
Yes, there's a lot of physics on the chain staff for sure. So like you can also just like if you tap the throw button, you won't charge it. It'll just toss right out in front of you and stick in the ground, and you can use that as a barricade because I think it stops enemy shots. So you can like throw it out. You throw it down as cover. You can use it as a platform, like I said, and move it around manually with the stick. You can throw it as an offensive thing. You can also use it as a grappling hook in spots.
Interesting.
Not just anywhere. I think it needs like a specific grapple point, but it's got a cool look, and the mechanic on the chain staff is like kind of a lot to take in because there's so many things you can do with it at once.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's an interesting idea.
So does this have a date?
Also coming soon.
Coming soon. By Mommy's Best Games.
Yes, Mommy's Best Games.
Nice.
I don't like that.
Running out of developer names out there. You got to get creative.
No, I think we ran out.
So is that it for now?
Yes, that pretty much mops up everything else I had from Summer Game Fest.
That's Hyper Light Breaker, Phantom Blade, Chainstaff, and some Steamworld Heist 2 there. No Megacopter, Blades of the Goddess at Summer Games Fest?
Nope.
We talked about that on Planorama. I downloaded it. I played it. It's pretty silly, like as one might guess. It is you are in a helicopter on a fixed kind of isometric map. What is your game of reference for this?
Desert Strike.
Okay, so
100%.
It is you going around. There's a button for air to ground. There's a button for air to air. You are basically fighting lizard men who are taking over the world. You have a sentient copter that is apparently inhabited or is a resurrection of some Aztec god who then can call its Aztec god friends during defense missions. It's a weird game.
I really appreciate that they wanted to just make a Desert Strike clone, but then they decided the helicopter is, quote, a sentient weapon that gains power by feeding on the blood of its enemies.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
You can. It's weird because you could sacrifice people and then they're like, the pilot is like, "Yeah, sure about this," and they're like, that person's an asshole anyway, and gave themselves over to the cult, and they're like, okay,
if you say so.
Yeah,
I should try. Did this get a console release? This just came out on Steam. I don't think.
I think it's just PC right now.
Okay.
But it's like $16. It's pretty goofy. It controls okay. It's kind of fun. Like it's really though I'm like playing to get to the next cutscene to see what the hell's happening here.
Sure.
And getting more upgrades and different weapons and whatever else. But like, it's not going to blow anybody's mind, but it's pretty silly. I had some fun with it. Did not put too much time into it. Megacopter, Blades of the Goddess. Pretty dumb. Harold Halibut. I
remember that.
Nice.
I know. In my quest to try to finish off some games as we hit a slower, but still, for me at least, exciting release period. Trying to knock some things off the list.
Yeah, I saw some people saying that picks up toward the end.
I had to push myself through to finish that game.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, okay, maybe not.
There's a kind of long, what I felt slog middle section. Things do get more interesting towards the end, but it was real easy to walk away from that game in the I'd say 60% done range, where you're like, I'm just running around the map. You just got me doing fetch quests around the map, which is not a fun map. When I say map, like the corridors of this of the Fedora, the ship, it's just not fun to move in that game. Like the movement sucks.
Yeah, it's a slog from my experience.
Slog. And so also that game crashed a lot on me. Would just bail. Even still would just bail after a scene and just kick me out to the Xbox desktop. And then I was playing on the Xbox.
It's been out for almost 3 months now, I want to say.
Would just bomb out, and then I'd be like, all right, I'll just hopefully boot it back up and it's saved, because it's a slow ass game.
It really is. Did the story redeem itself, or not redeem itself? I mean, I always thought the story was interesting. It was more of a... it's a fun, like, touching at times story with Harold. Maybe some parts are a little saccharine, but like it's I like the tone of it. It's just slow. And it feels padded out. Even so, at the end, they give you things that sound like they were puzzles and then are not puzzles. Like occasionally in the beginning, there's like, hey, just do this thing. Like there's some interactivity here. You can like hit these 3 buttons and it feels like you've interacted in some kind of puzzle. But towards the end, they give you things. One specific example is like, we're going to have to line these conveyor belts up for you to reach this other area. And they just do it themselves. And they're like, okay, now just go forward. And I'm like, wait, you're not going to give me this puzzle? Did you cut this for time? Did this not work itself out? Do you want to get to the end of this kind of like I do? I don't know. Something about it, the way that thing moved, it just started to wear on me, where the charm wasn't there anymore. And I was just like, this, it's probably due to the crashes as well. It was like, this just, I can't believe you're making me run back to this part of the ship.
It feels like a labor of love game, where it feels like a lot of that labor was around the art and the design and the visual design, and kind of just making that concept. And when it came time to make the game, there were fewer ideas for that than there were for how they wanted it to look. It absolutely feels like an aesthetic looking for a game. And the story is there, but it is a video game. Yeah. So you do need to play it and interact with it and have some sort of engagement there.
And I have I'm like attracted to, if not have at the very least have nothing against games that are visual novels, walking simulators.
Yeah, you like story stuff. That's not a question.
That's not a question here. Like, it's okay if your interactivity is light. It's just don't make it tedious. And there were parts of this that just felt like tedious, where they'd be like, go find this person, and be like, I don't know where they are, and I don't want to search for them because
I'm not sure I care.
Or like, I did care, but it was like getting around. If I'm gonna go to a place and they're not gonna be there, I'm gonna be mad because I just wasted 45 seconds going in the wrong way. on a ship, and 45 seconds might not sound like a lot, but it's just not fun to navigate. So anyway, finished it up. I still think it is a decent narrative, a decent story, great aesthetic, cool characterizations. Just the gameplay part is not there. I was thinking as I was wrapping it up, being like, if I were to give this a star on Giant Bomb terms, would I give this 2 stars?
Would you?
After you said stars, but before you said the number, I was like, I bet it's going to be a 2. That's what it sounded like. If you sent that text around, I would say this sounds like a 2.
Yeah, and I was like, this might get a 2, but it would be a 2 to a 3, like on the bubble, just of like how much did I actually love it at the end?
It's a 2 with promise.
And if it weren't for the crashes and some of that technical stuff, probably would just be a 3. The technical stuff might have knocked it down to a 2. I hit a point where there was a narrative point. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the game gets a little trippy, and it was just a part where the screen went black, and it was just the sounds happening. And I was like, I don't know if this game has crashed or not. And I waited. I left it on for, I think, about 2 minutes. And I was like, this thing has definitely crashed. Like, nothing's happening, but the sounds were going, and like I could still hear stuff going on in the background, but the screen was just black. And I was like, this sucks, because I think it has crashed and has just taken me out of this weird kind of trippy moment. So yeah, that's a bummer. It's like a game I wanted to really enjoy more than I did. Harold Halibut
just didn't quite have the juice.
Ambitious. Cool. Performance-wise, it always felt like it was going to fall apart. Even with that aesthetic, it always felt like it was struggling against what it was doing. But interesting tale, setting, environments, everything around the edges. Presentation. Great presentation. Just felt a little clunky. But that's done. Checked it off the list. Plenty of other stuff I still have on my list to try and knock out there. No Final Fantasy updates. I'm going to try and play some Final Fantasy this Thursday, some late game on a stream. Will I beat it? Hell no. I don't think I'm within spitting range of the ending here, but for those who have finished it or want to see the end, I figured this is the opportunity before I finish it, because at some point I'm just going to get through that. I'm at the point now I'm just getting through that game. I'm going to put it down.
I saw somebody on my Twitter feed yesterday talking about they did 0 of the side stuff. And it must have been literally 0 because their hour count when they finished it was 36.
I have seen stuff where I guess to get the platinum, I think you have to do it in hard mode. Again, you have to do a second playthrough.
Yeah, hard mode is bananas.
And I've seen hour counts that people are like, you can get through in about 25 hours if you just skip all the cutscenes and all of the side content. And that to me is like, oh my god.
Yeah, well, the cutscenes, like if you're skipping those, why are you even there at that point? But
if you're doing your second playthrough,
yeah, for that, sure. But
even under sub 40 for finishing that game,
seeing 36 if you skip all the side stuff was very eye opening to me.
But I wonder, like, is that a very challenging experience? Because that means I wonder what level you're at by the time you finish that. I guess you could set it to dynamic, or sorry, is it dynamic the easier one?
Dynamic is the harder one.
Which
is a weird way to put it.
Yeah, so I guess you can put it to easier and then just kind of go through it. And look, if that's how you enjoy doing it, I'm not throwing shade on you. I've talked about this before. My thing is, I probably am not going to do post-game stuff, because why would I if I'm not going to use it in the game?
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm just not just I think some people will be like, because it's fun to play the game, and it's like, I don't know. That's not like usually where I wind up.
Same. I just can't do it in a very heavily story-based thing like that. That's building up to a climactic finale. Once the finale has come and gone, it's like, okay, that's it.
Yeah, and if you're telling me like, but now you can get this other super awesome summon, it's like, to use against what?
Yeah, exactly. Like it would have been cool to have that when the action was heating up at the end, but now that's gone.
So yeah, we'll see. Again, I'm going to jump back in on Thursday. You can come join me there to see where I'm at, and maybe if you have some tips for some of those dumbass fights in that game. There are some dumbass optional fights in that game. But anyway, that is the Final Fantasy-ness that is happening. Last week, Alex and I went over the big list of the stuff that came out that we've touched or played or still want to play, it's like a decent amount.
Yeah,
like
there is stuff
this
now.
year. Yeah. And it'd be nice to finish it up. I still wonder if I will finish up any Dragon's Dogma before the end of this year. Kind of had the feeling if we hit September or end of August without me having finished up a bunch of stuff, I don't know. There's some other things coming out that could see soaking up my time. So, all right. We got some news to get to. That's the games. We're going to take a break there. We'll be right back with some video game news. Stick around. And we are back. And there is one other game here that I forgot to mention during our gaming segment. That's now done. In the can. Credits have rolled. Cyberpunk. That game's kind of awesome.
It's pretty good.
Did you finish it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
We wrapped.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. 80-something hours, I think it was.
Jeez.
Roughly,
somewhere around there. That game's pretty good. I really liked it. I liked it. That is a game I might just pop back into to scoop up some other missions because the gameplay is pretty fun. I'm a little sad they will not do any more content for it because it is a game I wouldn't mind trying a different build in. I went mostly sword ninja focused and just didn't do any of the hacking stuff or so like I didn't engage with nearly any of the cyber hacking things. I was mostly going invisible and slowing down time. And
Vinny, by the time you were done with that thing, you were basically just a Tasmanian devil style, like whirlwind of sword, like just.
It was
like that's it.
It was so funny, Brad. There was a part where it's the end of the game and they're helicoptering in troops, right? And so I could slow down time, go invisible, wait under the helicopter, and these guys would come down on their ropes, and time would be slowed down so much, just slice the crap out of them before they could even hit the ground in their, and just that game has like, detachable limbs and stuff. So it'd just be limbs flying off.
That sounds fun.
Heads flying off and then I could dash. So I just dashed to the next area. And so they're just dropping in. They're like, oh crap. And before the game had the time to hit the next audio cue where they're like, they're dropping. And then it's just like, all right, great job. It was pretty fun. I had a lot of fun in it. Yes, you can get real stupid in that game with your powers.
They definitely got that game to a much better place. Like, definitely not a flawless one.
No,
but,
even in the end credit scene where they're doing the like, what happened to this person? We got one last glitch of somebody leaning on a not there table.
Yeah. Also, the lighting in that scene just failed to load, which was very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it felt like they at least got that game to something resembling what their initial pitch for it was. And I will still say that I think far and away the Phantom Liberty stuff was the most
engaging.
Both just like nuanced writing and also just like engaging like storytelling and exciting mission design and everything. Like all of it felt like this is the thing you were striving for all along.
That's cool.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say too, and this I might go and do this at some point, maybe if we do some other streaming, Extra Life, whatever. Very divergent and distinct end game paths you can take with different missions that once you hit the point of no return, you can go and do these very tailor-made end game quests that don't just kind of funnel you through the same set of things with one choice at the end. It sounds like we obviously only saw one of them, but I can't imagine it being too similar to what we did with that faction, So, I really enjoyed it.
That's cool. They're out there talking about the sequel now.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen like there are quotes floating around from CD Projekt about their intentions with Cyberpunk 2. So,
I mean, for all intents and purposes, as far as I can tell, that game still did incredibly well.
Oh yes,
with its stumbling in the beginning, spectacular misstep, and so not to be taken away, that game was hyped to high heaven, fell on its face a bit when it launched, but I enjoyed the heck out of it playing through it, and the version I did post Phantom Liberty seemed to be kind of awesome.
Yeah, good on them for sticking with it and doing right by it and their customers eventually.
All right, speaking of sticking by them, I don't know, doing right by something maybe? I don't know. We'll get there. We'll discover that together. Capcom was out there kind of announcing some stuff. some remasters, remakes. Brad.
Yeah, I think you guys talked about Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, which is a very funny name.
Yeah, Doctor.
Last week, DRDR.
So when we talked about it, we had just seen the teaser for it. It had just kind of dropped. Most of the story there was like, boy, Frank West really looks weird here. And that's not the Frank West voice actor.
But that's like the one possible blight on this. Otherwise, like, I want this so bad.
But now we have details. So this was during Capcom Next. A lot of this stuff was coming out.
They did a Capcom Next. Did you guys watch that at all?
I only watched it after you put it into the show notes. I didn't watch it at the time
because like the cadence in it is very Nintendo Direct like in spots. It's like, now let's look at this next kind of stuff.
I found it too stilted to be even like enjoyable. You know, like to laugh at it. It was like so corny.
I didn't watch the whole thing, to be fair. I skipped around.
I also skipped around in it, but oh, look who's showing up next. It's Frank West. And
it was all maybe a little too stretched for what they could actually pull off.
But that was on Monday, right?
It's got this whole like detective motif at the whatever. We don't need to get into their production techniques, but there's this whole interrogation kind of
like people
vibe
sitting
to
on stools
when they're interviewing the developers later on. I thought it was fun. Anyway. They got into a lot of detail about this remaster.
Yeah.
And what it is. It's on the RE engine now, so they are like full on porting it to new technology.
Did you get to the part where they said, or did you catch this part where they're like, Resident Evil was all about quality over quantity, and Dead Rising was not.
Right. They're like, now with modern technology, we can also put some quality in this one.
So I think it's a real interesting way to say, like, this was just about pooping crap zombies out on a screen.
There's another bit in there where one of the developers is like, Capcom is no strangers to zombies. Like, oh, you're not wrong.
Right.
Anyway, it sounds like this thing is mostly going to be modernized, but also not in some ways that I find delightful. So like, there's going to be some like quality of life stuff in here. Like they're adding an autosave. You're going to be able to move while aiming now,
which is it's important.
It's, hey man, 2006 was a very different time. Stuff like that. And obviously the graphics are way better. Say what you will about the slight Frank West redesign.
I would say more than slight.
I'd say the overall look is less the issue for me and more the voice. It just doesn't quite sound right to me.
So I have not pulled up that trailer. I watched the trailer last week, but a lot going on. I can't remember what he sounded like. Have not watched it again. I should go check that out. That might not break things for me, but that might bum me out because that voice performance is
kind of
something
iconic.
About it. Yeah. Something about it is a lot of what makes that character, and it seems like they just didn't approach the original voice actor to do this.
That's what it's sounding like from the original voice actor.
But that's a very Capcom way of doing it.
Yeah, Terrence Rotolo, the original voice actor for Frank West, like straight up just tweeted.
Yeah,
or
responded.
Or actually, no. I think somebody got a quote from him that he basically just. That's all I can say.
I was not tapped for this mission or something.
Yes,
something
like
along those lines.
People asking why he wasn't cast in it. The answer to your question is I have no answer. All I can say is that I've been grateful for every opportunity to help bring Frank to life.
Yeah,
I simply wasn't called for this mission. The reasons are the producer's own. That is a bummer.
Yeah,
because but also like did that game? I assume that game had Japanese VO in Japan. Like they didn't
probably.
I would assume like maybe it's kind of like the Kojima David Hayter thing where you find out that like the English VO for the famous character was just not that important or not something they like held close to their hearts, the original developers. Anyway, it looks way better, but the thing that stood out to me in that presentation was where the art director very explicitly said, hey, we could have made the animations way better with newer technology in this thing, but we are actually using the original animation data as much as possible here. And like, I feel like that one thing makes me feel like they get Dead Rising like to its core, because it's just like, it's so slapstick. It's so absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And not even just in the events that are being depicted, but also in like the way the video game itself works, the way the animations are just kind of janky and stilted as they chain together. And you know what I mean? Like there's just a certain vibe to everything about Dead Rising that I love so much. And it seems like they get that and are trying to preserve it.
I think they did say also there's some stuff with the survivors and kind of better, AI there, which would be better. Which actually,
it's been a long time. I did play some of that. Was it 2016? They put out that just kind of like up-res port of the original and 2.
That sounds about right.
I did play some of that, but yeah, I guess like some of the survivor AI was not great about following you all the time and getting caught by zombies and stuff like that.
Was it Dead Rising where you could give the survivor a weapon and it wouldn't break?
I think that's right, or that might have varied by game.
Okay.
Remember, I think that's right though.
And you're like, oh, give them the good weapon because it won't break, or they don't run out of ammo or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right, and that might have even varied between 1 and 2. I can't remember.
So well, sorry, go ahead.
Also, I was gonna say also there were like 3 versions of 2, which makes things even weirder.
Oh God.
No explicit mention, but it does sound like implicit mention that the timer stuff is all just intact.
Oh yeah. I promise. I guarantee all of that stuff is exactly the same.
But autosave, that's definitely a quality of life.
That definitely seems like a big deal.
Like, can you just like, reload an autosave if you took too long on a boss mission or something like that?
I can't complain about that. I mean, nobody's, if you really want the pure experience, nobody's forcing you to use the autosaves.
Plus games crash. Hey, heads up. Games crash and like saving in a bathroom.
What? I thought we fixed that.
Yeah.
God, saving in a bathroom.
Saving in a bathroom.
Like that, I feel like that sums up the Dead Rising ethos better than anything else. You save in a bathroom.
Save in a bathroom. Watching that trailer, it seemed fun. Definitely watching that trailer, I think, Brad, to your point, maybe to its detriment for me, I went back and was like, oh my gosh, yes, this absolutely feels like Dead Rising watching this. I think maybe I've played the Dead Rising I want to play. I don't know if I want to go back to this. The more I watched of that trailer, the more I was like, I really put a lot of hours into Dead Rising.
Oh yes. Did you get the 53,000 zombies achievement?
I think by doing donuts in that parking garage, yes.
Yep.
I might also have that one. That was in that brief window when I actually cared about achievements.
Was that 53,000 or 5,300?
No, it was 53,000. It was the population of the entire town.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yes, did you get the Mega Buster? Was it?
I can't remember. I think that might be right.
I thought you got the Mega Buster before that.
I can't remember. Maybe I used the Mega Buster to get that. I remember doing donuts in that parking garage.
Yes, it is after doing that achievement. It's 53,594.
Okay.
Oh wait, no. I'm thinking you're right. There was an actual Mega Buster. There was also a toy Mega Buster you could get in the mall that would just shoot tennis balls.
Right.
This is called the real Mega Buster.
Yeah. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, like a lot of what I love about Dead Rising is inherent to the game. Some of it is also about that wacky period.
Yeah.
A year, that was less than a year after the 360 came out, where you were starting to go like, oh my God, this console is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the weird stuff it does, like achievements and how that ties into the gameplay. Like whoever would have thought of running over 54,000 zombies. Yep.
Surfing on zombies, like running on their heads
before they started incentivizing stuff like this. So like that's part of it, but still also Dead Rising fucking rules. And
that game was very novel at the time. Like the kind of impromptu weapon stuff, the mall as your playground, and all the discovering of all the different weapons there at the time seemed like almost limitless. Now it's probably quaint with the number of weapons they had in it. But at the time, it felt like, oh my gosh, you could put this cone on their head, or you could put this on their head, and then it was really novel at the time.
I mean, and there's a madcap quality too. It's like, oh, stuffed animals should not be deadly weapons against zombies, but they sure are here.
Or the killers. What are they called? The bosses?
Oh, psychopaths.
Yeah, the psychopaths.
Like all the psychopaths are like super well written and well acted.
Yeah,
and weird and gross.
Except for those guys outside in the military vehicle.
The fucking Jeep guys in the courtyard.
Sucked. It sucks so much.
There's also just this weird, like, sinister atmosphere that hangs over everything that mixes with the absurdity in a really cool way.
Yes.
I also love how much everybody hates Chuck Green in the second one, but that's not unique to this game. Anyway, they put a date on it, I guess, is the actual biggest news here, aside from what they're doing to it. It's coming out in September.
This
is like 2.5 months away.
Yeah.
Owing to a large list of reasons, there is like kind of nothing I want more to play right now than a slightly gussied up version of Dead Rising.
Well, hey, there's been I'll say there's been some call to see you play some Dead Rising if you.
I'll play the shit out of some fucking Dead Rising.
Yeah, I am excited for this to come out. Like I also meant to say at the top of this news segment, we've done it. Every one of these news stories that I found interesting to put in here this week is about a fucking remake. Or remaster.
Or that's reboot. The way of things now, isn't
or
it?
Reboot.
Or potential remaster, or reboot,
yes.
or sequel.
Every single one of these is about some kind. Yeah, you're right. In a couple of cases, it's more like a reboot or spiritual successor kind of thing. But like every single one of these is about bringing some old franchise back.
Everything old is new again. Nothing will ever be new again.
Yeah.
It is probably worth mentioning. It is on their Steam page at least listed for $50 for the base version of it.
Really, that's surprising. That's cool.
Yeah,
I know there's the deluxe version has like a ton of extra costumes and music and stuff in it.
Okay, that one is $60.
Okay, wow, that's all right. That's cool.
Yeah,
good for them.
Yeah, I assume that'll carry over to the console versions, right? We're not in the $10 less on a.
Have they put up pre-order?
I only checked the Steam version, so I didn't check consoles yet.
I don't think it has a. Oh no, here it is. Yeah, no, it's $50 on Xbox as well.
And then a $10 plus for the deluxe.
Yeah, good for them. That's cool.
Anything else you want to talk about, Brad, from the Capcom Next?
Not really. It was very short. The only other thing is like they announced RE7 for iPhone, but in the course of that, they talked about they basically they didn't say the words Resident Evil 9, but they said, hey, new Resident Evil is in production.
Yeah, surprise there.
And they said who the director is, who was also the director of 7. Although I don't think that's to say it's just going to be like another like 7. It was really difficult to figure out what to do after 7, but I found it, and to be honest, it feels substantial. So Koji Nakanishi is the developer, or is the director's name. So I don't even know if it'll be first person for that matter, but anyway, the fact that they're talking about the next Resident Evil is also exciting.
We mentioned it was interesting to see the mobile news because just last week we talked about the reporting on those mobile ports, not just Capcom, but Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed.
I saw those stories going around.
Seems kind of rough.
Those things are not selling. I almost wonder if Apple is subsidizing those ports in some way.
I don't know. I mean,
they'll probably have to if they want to get more of them.
It was a really interesting commentary from some analysts about, excuse me, about the cost of those new phones, and the people who have them probably have a console that they've played these games on, because it's not like that you can buy and play these on any old mobile device. This is like cutting edge stuff. Interesting though that this was probably in development for a while before those numbers came out. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll see if it happens moving forward. All right, Brad, let's stay in Japan. What's next here?
Crazy Taxi.
You can't just say it like that.
Perhaps you've heard of it.
No, I've not heard of.
Have I?
I've not heard of Crazy Taxi. I've heard
that was
not in some time.
Crazy Taxi.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of that. That was part of that like 5-fer. Can you say that?
Yeah,
that quintuple threat.
The rebooting.
Yeah, back at the Game Awards when Sega just rolled that trailer that was like, hey, new Shinobi, new Streets of Rage, new Crazy Taxi, new
Golden
what else
Axe.
was there? Golden Axe. Wait, was there a Streets of Rage?
I thought there was a Streets of Rage in there too.
And then what was the fifth? The fifth one wasn't Jet Set Radio, was it? It was.
It was.
And I think Jet Set Radio stuff started leaking out somewhere too, but we don't have it in here. And I don't know if it was that big a deal.
That was the 5. Crazy Taxi, Golden Axe, Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Streets of Rage.
Something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this comes straight out of a recruitment video that Sega has published or has put out, trying to drum up more talent for this game. This comes by way of Video Games Chronicle. Shout out to them for doing the work of keeping the news grind going. But yeah, in this video, they are saying it is going to be most likely a massively multiplayer game.
That's bananas.
What does that mean in this context?
Here's what it means to me.
Okay.
If they are just mashing up Crazy Taxi and Burnout Paradise,
yeah,
give me that shit.
Totally.
Because like when they said they were doing this, I was like, that's cool. Like, everybody really fondly remembers Crazy Taxi and that Offspring song or whatever. But also, those games were very simple, you know? Like,
Pick
they
up
were
a
very
fare.
they were very time and place. Like, it was cool in the arcade. It was even cooler on the Dreamcast, but also, like, there's not that much to Crazy Taxi, right?
No, everything about Crazy Taxi is basically built for the arcades. It is meant to be a bite-sized experience.
Right. Like it just feels like a pretty insubstantial game in my memory, but if you throw a bunch of other players in there into an open world map, which is what they're talking about here, and make it more competitive and come up with a bunch of weird activities and challenges and who knows what.
Yeah.
With other players.
Yeah.
That could get very cool.
I mean, really, you just gotta probably just take a page and base your game off of like everybody fighting for a fare on, some kind of
it's the gig economy.
Yeah, ride economy, like gig ride economy, and just everybody is like, "There's a fare over here, and it's an airport fare."
Like you have a literal built-in villain, which is your version of fake Uber. Like that is the thing you're all competing against and trying to take down.
They're gonna shut down the rec center. We've got to go get these fares. Yeah.
It's like I paid for this crazy medallion, okay? I didn't fucking spend $100,000 to not have this crazy medallion.
Yeah, they should call it crazy medallion. That's the end goal. Is you somehow are able to sell your medallion and retire. And it has somehow held on to its worth.
Oh, so it is a fantasy game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fantasy game. Crazy Taxi.
Yeah. Quick line from this VGC story. The rebooted Crazy Taxi will take place in a large, realistic city based on the United States West Coast with a, quote, theme park-like map.
Which is kind of like the original, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what it was.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. But like the first game was like kind of San Francisco, wasn't it?
Yeah,
vaguely.
It felt like boardwalkish, kind of like piers.
It was like San Francisco, Santa Monica, and a couple of other things mashed together.
Mashed up together, sure. This is on Unreal Engine, so it'll probably look quite good.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty basic formula here that we can all imagine where everybody starts and you're racing to go get fares and drop them off as many fares as possible with doing stunts in between and the whole thing.
Yeah, just if they can add to that with a bunch of multiplayer stuff and a bunch more activities and stuff, this actually could have some meat to it.
Yeah.
I forgot a game really quick. I'll just try to go through it as fast as I can.
Okay.
Because it's somewhat Crazy Taxi-esque. The game is Parcel Core.
Okay.
It was just buried on my list of games when we were talking earlier, and this is the last game I actually have to talk about for Summer Game Fest. It's kind of a mashup of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio in a way, except you're on a bike.
Okay.
It is very British, extremely like British humor. But
they're using the term parcel, so that makes sense.
Yes.
And is this
come out last year?
No, it's not out yet.
It's Parcel like Core, like corpse though, right?
Yeah, CORPS, Parcel Core.
Oh, you're right. It's out in September.
Yes. So it's kind of a mix of like, I guess you could even say a little Tony Hawkish because there's like rail grinding and wall riding and stuff like that.
But you're a bike messenger, basically.
Yep, you're a bike messenger. But it's kind of like a mashup of those games. It's kind of got the look sort of like a Jet Set Radio, very bright and vibrant. Plays really well. Like you can do like hard 180s on the bike to maneuver around and stuff. And the Crazy Taxi element is there's a lot of like pick up a thing and take it to a place, fair type stuff. It seemed cool. It was like a 15-minute demo, so I didn't play a ton of it. But seems pretty solid if you're into that style of game. Like it seems like they get it and are doing some cool stuff with it.
But do I get an e-bike? Do I have to pedal?
Know.
I
don't. You're pedaling, man. Come on.
Parcel Core scores. September.
Yes.
I've added it to our list here. Okay, staying in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Konami.
Still tangential to a remake.
Uh-huh.
Is that Metal Gear Solid 3 remake coming out soon?
Okay, sure.
Ish. This comes straight from a Konami live stream. They said the word Kojima. Konami said the name Kojima on a stream.
And nobody got fired, as far as we could tell.
Like straight up, the current producer, which like I think like in the Japanese games industry, like producer is kind of like head of things. I think generally, this is basically I think kind of the highest level creative at Konami. Noriaki Okamura is his name from Konami. Literally said he would love to work with Kojima on Metal Gear again.
Has enough time passed where like There's there been a rotation there where
I don't know.
People can talk about this?
I don't know, but this is so notable to me because, I don't feel like the full story never quite came out, but there appeared to be so much acrimony around his departure from Konami that it seemed like they would never even acknowledge his existence again, which, again, that was 9 years ago now. We're almost 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Because Phantom Pain came out in 2015, and he was gone, I think, before it even shipped, right?
Yeah.
Because didn't they pull his name from parts of it?
Oof, I don't.
His name is still pretty prominently featured, but
yeah, I feel like there was something with the credits that raised some eyebrows. Maybe not. I can't remember. But anyway, it seemed like he was pretty unceremoniously just escorted out.
Well, and it had been bad there between them for a while, even before because I had heard that they had basically isolated him and his team from everything else at Konami, and then at a certain point they had also kind of isolated him even from the rest of that team. So it got very weird even before he finally left.
Right. But now here we are almost a decade later, somebody on this stream asking the producer if there was a chance of people who worked on previous Metal Gears coming back to work on it again. After saying, I can't speak for everybody. Speaking for myself personally, I'd like nothing better than to work with Mr. Kojima and the rest of the team again. If that could happen, it would be the dream.
I don't think this dude's getting fired for this, but I can tell you right now, the only way this was ever going to come up was from someone like him. Someone who is not there with a long enough memory to remember what happened when he left, and someone who does not have necessarily the same kind of level of acrimony that, let's just say, maybe certain C-suite people at Konami might still hold. But also, Kojima was never going to say this, because Kojima has moved on. Kojima has moved on to his own thing, and it seems like when he is asked about Metal Gear, it's mostly just in very, back-looking terms, not in I really invested in what Konami is even doing with that thing anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, his follow-up comments here are pretty realistic about people have moved on to new things and new commitments, so that's just our current reality.
It's just wild to even hear it.
I don't think it's right for us to be the ones to make that kind of demand of anyone, so we're working with the expectation that whatever we make, it's up to us. It's on our shoulders to do a good job. I don't think some reunion is going to happen tomorrow or ever, to be clear. But it just feels like such an about face from Konami.
Well, Konami, look, Konami's different now. I'm not to say that they're better or good necessarily, but wherever Konami was at when that happened, and where they were in intervening years where they barely put out any video games.
I think they stated they were barely gonna. They said we're kind of just getting out of this.
Yes, the implications, or maybe the explicit message was, yes, we're kind of, because they do all the health clubs and pachinko, and they have a lot of other revenue streams. It's hey, we're not going to make big games anymore.
But now they're doing that again. But we still don't really know exactly to what degree things have shifted over there. Is this just the same company culture just deciding they care about video games again? Has anything really changed there? We don't really know. But either way, Konami is now a video game publisher again. They seem fairly committed to it. That said, I don't think they're ever even going to make any kind of real outreach to someone like Kojima, even in a ceremonial way, because there's just no value in it for either party right now.
Yeah. He's clearly got plenty on his plate already, and that he has more control over. I think honestly, the most interesting thing to me is what happens if this remake comes out and does super well.
Yeah.
I guess the obvious answer is another remake, but do they ever try to make a full-on ground up new Metal Gear game without him?
That's a big ask.
Yeah.
You want my honest opinion? They should never make another Metal Gear.
I think you can get away with redoing 1 and 2. Do a really do this for 1 and 2, but
1 is going to get remade yet again.
Yeah.
Well, then in a few years they'll remake 4 and make that look even better, and then they'll do some kind of 5 remakes at 2 generations from now or something.
MGS4 is one of the weirdest games in games history to me at this point, with the way that it feels like it's this untouchable thing that nobody wants to acknowledge or deal with, because it never came to another platform. It doesn't. I guess it kind of gets included in was it in that last collection? Did you get that? Well,
I'm not sure you did.
I can't remember. I don't know how that even worked, because that was a PS3. I don't know. Just the way that it kind of exists on the PS3 as this artifact of history when every other MGS game has gotten brought back over and over is just such a weird thing.
The reason I say never make another Metal Gear is not because I think those games are bad or anything, not far from it, but my thing is Kojima told his story. He told the story he wanted to tell. In fact, he kept telling it even after I think he had kind of told the story he wanted to tell. And unless you're going to do an all-new thing that does not have Solid Snake in it, that does not have those characters necessarily in it, and just do something else in that universe, I don't want more of it, because just continuing to extend out that storyline that Kojima was done with before he was even done with it, like, I just don't... There's no value in that for me. I can replay those old games over and over again, fine, but a new Metal Gear completely divorced from Kojima and what he wants to do with it just isn't really Metal Gear to me. It's not interesting to me that way.
Can't believe I'm saying this. It's almost more Meta Gear to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I have this like meta level interest in somebody else making a Metal Gear game, not because I want another Metal Gear game, but because I would love to see what direction somebody picked and decided to go in and execute it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because those are such unusual shoes to fill.
Yeah,
like watching the experiment play out and seeing how they chose to go about trying to do that would be really fascinating to me, notwithstanding whether I actually want another Metal Gear game or not, which I kind of don't.
I think you could do Metal Gear. You just got to stay away from Snake and the whole Fox Die stuff.
Tell a new story.
Yeah, you have to go just like it's completely parallel to it, or way after, or way before.
Because Snake's story has been done over and over again and extended out in ways that even I think are unnatural, even for a fairly broad and weird series.
And that's really just too tied to Kojima. The Snake stuff. I think you just have to...
No more Snake.
Or you just have to, if you want to do something in universe that's completely different, have someone else tell a cool story in that universe.
Because again, that Raiden game came out and that turned out to be way better than anyone thought it was going to be, and that wasn't Kojima, but it was also definitely dealing in a lot of the same weirdness that those games did. It just went for a much more outsized version of it, and I think that kind of worked.
Probably of no interest here because we mentioned the crediting before, but they do go on in this story you linked here, Brad, on Video Game Chronicle, that Kojima will be credited and the team will be credited for their due in these remakes and the that collection.
That's what they should be.
Yeah. So it sounds like if I had to really armchair analyze this one statement here, it maybe sounds like people internally are maybe thought things didn't go down as well as they could, and you're not hearing this coming from the upper management. You're hearing this coming from maybe his kind of peers or other cohorts there, being like, yeah, like, look, man, maybe things went down rotten. Maybe he was done rotten. Maybe he got too big for his britches. I really don't know, but it
could be both.
Yeah, it could be both, but maybe sure, I'd leave the door open, but it's probably never going to happen.
I don't. Not until the current executive team at Konami has essentially entirely turned over. Is that even a possibility? I think.
I'm sure he would much rather have them, and they're not going to do this. Sell him the rights to
that will never happen.
That's right. So like that'll probably that won't happen until there's some fire sale at Konami.
Oh,
and
that'll
even
never
still,
ever. It's just too valuable for that. There's no upside to them in
zero
in getting
like
rid of
literal bankruptcy sale is the only way that's going to happen.
They will make so many bad Metal Gear games before that ever happens.
Konami would have to cease to exist, and even then, their IP would be bought by another large corporate entity that he would have to just make a deal with. So
that's right. Embracer will be making Metal Gear games way before Konami gets it.
Like I said, the more interesting and like realistic proposition is, what if this thing makes a shitload of money, which is exactly the kind of thing that gets the attention of decision makers, who then go start remaking the other ones. Let's make a new Castlevania. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're just like, hey, we're back in. Like, right, our IP is very valuable.
Do you think Kojima and his team follow this and are like, look, OD and Death Stranding 2 just need to beat sales on Delta. Like, we have to outsell. We have to prove that there is more interest in Death Stranding than there is in the Metal Gear franchise at this point.
If I'm Kojima talking to my team about this, I never say anything to that effect. I don't care. I have to put on as brave and not above it kind of attitude as I can, because the second you start funneling your business towards some vague notion of corporate revenge, everything suffers. The product suffers, the people suffer. Like, none of that is good for anyone there. And for his part, even if he does harbor some kind of, like, grudge or, you know, like, secret desire to just, you know, fucking trounce all over Konami wherever he can, he's not saying that. And I don't think that's something that you want bleeding out into your workforce and the people around you. Like, just hold that little secret competition inside yourself. That's not what the work is about.
You know, it is also, again, this is because of a lot of factors, personalities, companies, you know, even the cultural stuff in Japan and the way they kind of talk about business and employees and stuff. We never really got a lot of discussion about this. It is also very possible that he just got sick of making Metal Gear and wanted to leave. And they were like, no, you're the Metal Gear guy. You will make Metal Gear. And maybe he just wanted to bounce.
I mean, he wanted 4 to be the last one, didn't he? Originally?
I don't know.
I thought I remembered him saying this was supposed to be the conclusion of that story.
Oh, it was extremely portrayed as the conclusion of the Solid Snake story.
Yeah.
But then 5, you know, 5 is a follow-up to 3, essentially, where it's just filling in more of the backstory before Snake.
And look, if that information is out there, like, I didn't follow this saga that closely, like, feel free to link it over to me. And
this is a vague memory I have.
Nothing was really, like, confirmed. There were a lot of appearances that people sort of started trying to connect dots between.
Okay.
I have to say, though, like, I love Phantom Pain. It's like the best playing Metal Gear by 1,000 miles, but the way that game wraps up does not entirely feel like a finished game.
Still more work needs to be done.
And there's like a ton of cut content out there that people have found bits and pieces of, but it may have all been intended to be cut. Who knows?
Brad, what is your next remake, remaster, revisiting, or spiritual successor?
Straight from Yves Guillemot's mouth. Are you interested in multiple Assassin's Creed remakes?
No, but I knew they would do this.
I am interested in multiple Assassin's Creed remakes. My son has just picked up Assassin's Creed 1, and that game I thought had a little more of a remaster than maybe it did, but the PC version of that game is still pretty clunky in terms of like a PC port of the original Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where you're running everything polygonally higher, but higher resolution, but the things that are bitmaps on, like in the UI and stuff, look like they came out of a NES game now because the resolution is so much. It has to scale them up so much for the UI. Yeah, I could do with an Assassin's Creed 1 going back. I think they redid 2, or at least touched them, not remakes, but up-res or did something too. But Brad, this story is not talking about specifically 1 or 2.
No, this is they posted, Ubisoft itself posted an interview with Guillemot about, quote, the future of Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they asked kind of like what to expect for the future of the franchise. Firstly, players can be excited about some remakes, which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. There are worlds in some of our older Assassin's Creed games that are still extremely rich. I had forgotten, Kotaku reported last year that their sources say that Black Flag is currently being remade.
I did not know
why
that either.
That one?
I guess it's super popular.
Yes, that's not the worst one to remake, right?
Well, no, it is though, because it's the one that it's one of the ones that needs the least amount of work.
Sure, yes, okay. In that sense, yes, you're right.
Like, I think of AC 1 through 3 as the ones that would absolutely benefit them. I mean, not that I really want to play 3 again, but like, those are the ones I feel like could use the most modernization by far.
Yeah, sure.
1 for sure.
Yeah, 1 and 2 I feel like are definitely could use it.
I just feel like this story is inherently a little silly because there are so goddamn many of these games already.
Yeah, fair.
Like the idea that even like that many of them are going to get brought back, in addition to they've already named and are talking about the next game in the mainline series after Shadows. I still have no idea how to pronounce it. Assassin's Creed Hexe.
Yeah.
Which I think there's some like element of like witchcraft or like paganism or something to it. Is that right?
How much is known about it?
I thought they had at least released some art or something for it.
Okay.
But like it feels like that just illustrates the point. Like we're still 6 months out from the next big release and they're already talking about the next one, There's so many of these games. The idea that they're also going to be pumping out remakes of them as well is just, man.
I mean, they do have like 73 different international studios that are all working on various things at various points. If you wanted to throw one of those teams something as a lead project and say, here, go nuts on this, I can think of worse things to do than say, make Assassin's Creed 1 feel like it belongs in this year.
Yeah.
I would also even say, like, if I would not be, I know a lot of people probably would, but for me, I would not be terribly upset if they went back through 1 through 4 and Black Flag and all that stuff and tried to clean up some of the lore to make it consistent in a retcon-y kind of way to make me interested in what the hell is going on in Assassin's Creed lore anymore. Like the outside of the Animus stuff, you know? Like to make it drop some stuff in there that'll tie into Shadows in Assassin's Creed earlier stuff, because I have lost the thread so much. Is there even a thread? Alex, you have played these later ones. Does it even tie in anymore? Do you even care?
Yeah, how do I describe this? There is a thread. It's not the same thread. The only similar thread between the last 3 big ones is that Layla character, the one who is like the real world person. That now that Desmond is no longer the main living person in our time.
Are we still talking about the ancients and basically the end of the end of the world and
not only are we still talking about the fucking ancients, but we are literally, I think, reshaping exactly what those ancients were up to with each different game. Because somehow they're also the fucking pantheon of Nordic gods, but also they are somehow the pantheon of Egyptian gods and also
Greek gods
and Greek gods, and they're just all the gods at once, but they all have like slightly different contexts for how they're those gods.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there is a real world, like real time thing happening. Though the way that stuff ends in Valhalla is very funny for the future of wherever the hell we're going. Honestly, with Shadows, I wouldn't be surprised if they just ditched where that story was going for a while, because it certainly would be a good ditch point if they were going to do it. But there are some questions. There are some questions left to be answered by where things with Valhalla were.
Yeah, I still think the Assassin's Creed franchise has life in it. I'm still very curious about Shadows. I think this is interesting, especially since, again, my son just booted up 1, and as I was watching 1. Mm-hmm. I was brought back to a simpler Assassin's Creed time of, oh, right, this is a good game that for at the time what they were going for. Say what you will about the missions getting boring and the tailing missions and the lack of, but like it was pretty damn good at the time.
Yeah,
I really like it. 2 still probably my favorite. Mirage, not a great game.
No.
Shadows, what is that? October?
November.
Okay. Hexy?
Sure. They'll say it on a stream eventually. They probably already have.
What's the open world? What's the universal? What's the
Infinity?
Infinity. Great.
So I keep saying.
Okay.
Who knows when or if that will ever happen? I don't know, man.
Realize.
It's not a game. It's like a hub, right? It's some kind of umbrella wrapper for all their games or something.
It's the idea of a guy.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Alex gets that one.
I get it.
All right. Lastly here, Brad.
Yeah. Here's just a little bummer of a tidbit to send us out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that this is starting to come out now that we're like, what are we, like, coming up on a year since Embracer had their big calamity?
Not even a year, I don't think.
It was last year sometime, right? What is time anymore? As we all know, Embracer had that massive, like, $2 billion investment fall through and have just been slashing and burning studios and projects and IPs and everything since. Rock Paper Shotgun has done a big kind of expose about Fish Labs, one of the studios that Embracer acquired at one point. And they have straight up said what it was they were working on before it got canceled. It was a fucking Red Faction Guerrilla sequel.
God damn it.
Which, man... I know I'm sitting here going like, oh, so many remakes and sequels and reboots and whatever, but like...
But that's the one!
Seriously.
That's like, one of the ones!
Like, the Red Faction Guerrilla is awesome for so many reasons, and they never really iterated on it again, because then they pivoted They pivoted straight to trying to like ape Gears of War after that.
Right.
Remember?
Yes.
I reviewed that game and I can't even remember what the subtitle was. It was Red Faction 5. It starts with an A. What is
Was it up to 5 already?
Yeah, because Guerrilla was 4, right?
Jeez.
Am I? Wait,
I only remember like 3 of them.
Am I losing my mind?
No,
I thought I remembered a 5, but I could be wrong.
I thought 5 was the.
Look, your mind is in much better shape.
Oh, you're right. Guerrilla was 3, not 4. I don't know why I thought Armageddon was the one I reviewed that I was talking
Armageddon.
about. That was 4, not 5. Okay, there was one fewer original game than I thought. But Armageddon was the very much like over-the-shoulder shooter, like right in the Gears of War era.
Did you play, what was it? God, was it Remastered?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, I played some of the Remastered edition.
Oh, God.
Probably is and will always be the best subtitle on a remake or remaster ever.
It's such a fuck you, but I have to respect it.
Stupid.
I have to.
So good.
Remastered. Anyway, yes, a new Red Faction Guerrilla would have been very fun.
Yeah.
Give me a sledgehammer and let me tear down silos.
Seriously, especially in the pursuit of tearing down an unjust, oppressive system.
Yes.
The world needs more of that right now. Just some quotes from them talking about, an open-ended play experience would have taken place a century after the events of Guerrilla, featuring new and reimagined locations, female protagonists, would have led an underground revolution. I don't know that it got far enough along that they even could say what would truly have differentiated it from Guerrilla.
Right.
Familiar emphasis on wrecking buildings, though, is in here, and that's all I needed to hear.
How come we don't have more, like...
I don't know. That's the thing about this.
Stuff.
Like tech, like games tech has gotten so much better since Guerrilla came out. Like, you could do so much more with destroying buildings with a sledgehammer.
Totally. I feel like the things we see now are like, what's the voxel one?
Teardown?
Yeah, like teardown and stuff like that. But where is my AAA adjacent, break them up, blow stuff up?
A modern game like that with all the advances in engine tech and stuff would be pretty good.
Because the tech in the finals is fun. Like it looks good. It's a more closed environment, but man, that stuff looks good, breaking through floors and all that.
Yeah, this one kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, Guerrilla was probably, and probably for a lot of people, my favorite one.
Oh, yeah. The first one in its day, like, geomod technology was pretty goddamn impressive at the time.
But just going through with the sledgehammer and hitting the supports of a building and trying to get it to fall.
Yes, like Guerrilla is just such a dumb physics sandbox that's so much fun to screw around in.
Like, I'm sure I didn't play the remastered edition. There's probably something about that Red Faction Just Cause, go cause enough mayhem in an area that probably gets pretty old quickly if I were to replay it again.
Yeah.
But look, modern game design with that stuff, you could probably figure it out, and there are smart people, and I just want to break stuff up. Okay, where's Just Cause?
Yeah, that series kind of petered out.
You can make some wild stuff. Put Just Cause in space. Give me new planets. Give me future Just Cause.
Stunt position on a rocket.
Totally.
On a space shuttle.
Yes. Give me absurd games. Red Faction meet Just Cause meets, I don't know, meets Saints Row.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. Yeah. Where do you think Red Faction is at this point? Just nowhere. It's
in
not
a
even
box.
Somewhere way down in Bracer's ledger.
Yeah. Right. Like in a drawer. All right.
Yeah. I wonder if we're gonna get more of these types of stories of people talking about the things they were working on that got canceled, because it was like double-digit numbers of games getting canceled, right? I think.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we've been in this, covering this at least for a long time. Games get canceled all the time, but this was a massive shift because there was also that reorging of all the companies internally into what was it, the Lord of the Rings group, right? The Frodo group and
Middle Earth and Friends, right?
I can't remember. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. That the news?
Yep.
That is the news, at least for now. we're in the summer here. Things pop off and happen because the summers are weird. The heat just brings out the weirdest news.
Mm-hmm.
We have an email address, podcast@nextlander.com, podcast@nextlander.com. Brad Shoemaker, do you have any emails for us this week?
Sure. I got a couple here. Speaking of things you gave 2 stars.
Okay, great.
I don't know what occasioned this email, but Sam in Iowa writes in and says, Vinny, off the top of your head, what could you tell me about Fracture?
You make the ground go up, you make the ground go down. I like games where you manipulate the terrain. That's about it. Third person action game, ground manipulation.
Also speaking of games in that Gears of War window when everybody was trying to be Gears of War.
Yeah, but this one, look, you could geomod your way.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what their terrain tech was called, but I'm curious why I gave it 2 stars. It was broken or boring. I don't remember. I can't remember.
Some of both, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. But making dumb columns out of the ground was. Give me more of it.
Yeah.
I ruined it for everybody by giving it 2 stars.
That was LucasArts. That was a LucasArts release.
I also ruined LucasArts.
Remember that?
Yep. I sunk it. I did this.
Here, I'll just read your deck for the game or for the review really fast before we move on.
Great. Read the last paragraph too, if it's not too long, because I'd like to know why.
Fracture offers a future where our best hope for survival relies on making enemies walk uphill.
Okay, that's pretty funny. Good for me.
That's your deck.
Okay, good.
Well, the game itself is technically proficient. Okay, I guess it was not broken.
Okay.
Nothing about the gameplay pushes it above and beyond that base level of proficiency. Its biggest problem comes from a clever premise with poor implementation. There's some replay value here in the multiplayer and the collection of data cells, which unlock the weapons from the campaign in a weapons testing area. But even those can get old very quickly.
Okay.
Once you get past the limited use of the terrain deformation, you'll find yourself searching for anything new or exciting in Fracture's take on the sci-fi third-person shooter.
Sounds about right.
So it just gets the gimmick gets old,
just dull.
Yeah.
Like.
All right. Look, that's a big crime in my book, so I can see why.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Good. Close the book on Fracture.
Yep.
Who's got that IP?
Disney, I guess.
Make a Fracture movie.
Did Disney get the Fracture IP when they bought Lucasfilm?
Where's my Disney limited run series of Fracture?
Can we get John Drake on the phone and answer this question?
Yeah.
We should totally. I saw John Drake a bit at some Game Fest, so he's fresh on the brain. I bet if anyone on the earth could tell us if Disney owns Fracture, it would be him.
I would like to know how many times in the last 10 years Fracture has come up in any conversation in a meeting. Probably somebody who worked on Fracture still works in the video game industry.
You would hope.
We should get some guests on, do an entire podcast about Fracture.
Fracture, a deep dive. Where's Danny O'Dwyer? Get him on the phone.
That's
Let's
right.
go find out about Fracture.
Finally, the story can be told.
All right. Well, what other emails we got here?
Let's see. Max from Lyon. With how much you guys talk live on the internet, have any of you ever had any embargo breaking incident in your careers?
Gosh, I hope not. For me personally, but you guys deal much more in embargo stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Alex, did you?
Not really.
Like, what's embargo? What do you want to classify this as? Self-policing, where it didn't get out, where we edited a thing? Because that's definitely happened, where we've been like, hey, actually, we have to cut this part.
Yeah.
Or something that you got notified by PR or a publisher.
I can't. I mean, I dealt with embargoes by far the most out of all of us because I was on the previews beat for so long. I can't think of any incident where anything went out too early that comes to mind. I mean, I can think of some not that I was involved in, like the Halo 2 review one was by far the big one in our time.
Yeah.
Is that a mistaken published time?
Where the review published prematurely over the weekend.
Was that a CMS error?
I think so. I don't know if I ever knew for sure exactly what happened, but I think it was some situation of a date getting put in wrong into the CMS.
Okay.
Which I can tell you from experience, if you have auto-publish capability in your CMS, which you surely do, and it's really, really sensitive, maybe just don't set it to auto-publish until it's time.
The other thing I will say, just from having been on the again, I didn't have to deal with embargo, more on the kind of this videos embargo, like a video review or anything like that. Always do 1201. It's just don't even mess around with it. 1201 of the day. Otherwise, you just don't want to take that chance.
Yeah. That one kind of. I hope this isn't too morose. That one actually kind of bit me on the post that we put up announcing Ryan had passed.
Oh, really? The timing,
which I'm saying on here we are 11 years to the day actually since he passed today. But yeah, I put that story together. Rory wrote the text on that, but I put the story together and put it in there and just absentmindedly, I guess, clicked the like auto publish at this time box.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all had to go to a meeting, like an all hands meeting about it. And
it published because it was the morning?
And the story actually went up. Thank God it was like ready. Like, thank God I had finished like doing what I needed to do to it.
Right.
But it actually, we came back to our desks and like the whole like our phones were blowing up and stuff. And I was like, what the fuck?
I don't remember that.
And it had published while we were in that meeting, which I was not prepared for.
I mean, granted, probably not in a great state of mind. Having written that.
I was thinking back on it a little bit. There was one review I remember when I was reviews editor at GameSpot that went up before the embargo. But if I'm remembering it correctly, I think the reason it went up from before the embargo was because we went and bought it.
Oh yeah, that's totally fine then. There,
but it was one of those things where it's like it had ended up in a store somewhere early or something like that.
Oh, right.
And we had gotten a copy of it, and they did not send us review code, if I remember correctly. I could not remember for the life of me what the game was, but I do remember them raising something like, hey, this has been breaking the embargo. It's like, you didn't send it to us. Mm-hmm. Also, we bought it, so what do you want from me?
Yeah, that was always the policy was, hey, if we buy this game for money from a retailer, it is fair game.
Yeah. The other one was actually recent. It was not a review, but it was I got a preview build of that 4X game Old World, the Soren Johnson one, and they sent me the code and they were like, hey, here's the embargo, whatever. There was a video embargo which I just missed in there. So I started streaming it, and they were like, "Hey, that was the preview embargo. We're not doing the streaming just yet." It was we worked it out. It was cool. It was totally my fault for just not reading something correctly, but that was on me.
I have definitely seen a bunch of embargoes broken. I have definitely even up until modern times, joked around with other people and been like, I was looking at your coverage, and we've got the same embargo, and. That was definitely under embargo, what you guys showed. And they were like, wait, what? And they shake their fist like, Newman, because they're all relying on other people. To be fair, today in 2024, the language around embargoes is a little more complicated than I remember it being even 10 years ago, where there are all sorts of different like even internally sometimes we have to put our heads together and be like, okay, what do you think their intent with this verbiage is here, like where it's like preview video is a preview video review embargo, like what the fuck does that mean? Does that mean can we or like you can talk about this before your review goes up when you're reviewing the game, but only if you're reviewing the game in your preview mode. Be like, what the hell does that mean? Can we talk about it? Now there are separate embargoes for when you can say you have the game. Right. Sometimes those stipulate you can post a screenshot of your console dashboard showing the icon. Your social media embargo. Right. So stuff does get kind of funky. All right. I think that's going to do it for this here podcast today. We got a bunch of stuff going on. Just quickly here, I'm going to mention the Watchcast. We'll have a week off before we get to the finale, so we will not have a Watchcast going up next week, but we will have one going up the week after, which will be the end of our run with Twin Peaks. Hell of a run. I haven't watched the season finale yet, so looking forward to that. And we'll have more information about, or there is more information about what's going on there at the end of the second to last Twin Peaks Watchcast here. So you can check that out over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Nextlander, where you can find a new Never Been a Better podcast with Abby Russell talking about her trip across the United States. You can find the Ramblecast. We'll have a Patreon going up Planorama going up this week. All that stuff, patreon.com/Nextlander. Find a tier that's right for you. There is one tier there that gets their names read on this here show. Alex Navarro, do you mind reading our mysterious benefactors for this week?
Sure thing. Our mysterious benefactors are Sean Miller, RRE, Infelicitous Rips, Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Level 100 Deirdre, Gary Pejsky, Robert Fisher, Bunny Fiend, Chad Rita, Statics, Fantasticasm89, Razgriz2, Brian Murphy, Randy Duax, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, Dave Campos, and Tyler Treese.
Thanks again to our mysterious benefactors, and thanks again to everyone who has supported us over at patreon.com/Nextlander. We get asked a bunch of times, what's best to support us over Twitch or subscriptions there. It's really Patreon. If you can do it, you can get over to patreon.com/Nextlander and help us out there. That is going to be the most direct way for us, for your money to support us and what we do and keep us going. So thank you there. Alex Navarro, Brad Shoemaker, thank you both very much. We'll be figuring a lot of new stuff out. Cyberpunk's done, and Brad, are you going to continue with Fallout for a little bit?
Yeah. I need to put some more time in it. Like it keeps getting broken up,
Yes.
Like travel happened, personal stuff happened. I don't think there's been 2 consecutive weeks I have played it in a row. So coming back to that game is a little tough. I need to just try to bear down on it a little bit.
So I look forward to that, and so whatever's going to happen after this round of the Watchcast, and now that we're done with Cyberpunk. Exciting times. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Thanks again, Alex and Brad, and we'll be back next week.